We're flying by the seat of our pants here. But yes, we are a wrestling recap podcast because God knows there are not enough of those right now.
Yeah, right. It's not an oversaturated market at all. So
Not in the least bit. If anybody is watching, if you do have any audio issues, we would love some feedback. But if not, we're just going to assume everything's good to go. So, yes, we again, as I said, we are live. We are just finishing up with WrestleMania 40 Night 1. And I think we're going to start with a little bit of word association. Brent, in one word or phrase, how would you sum up Night 1?
one word or phrase. Okay. Fine. It was fine.
Sure. I kind of had similar thoughts. I was kind of like, this was okay. Maybe it's just, and I wouldn't call it spoiled, but I think in a lot of instances, night one has traditionally, since they've been in the 2-night format, I feel usually the better night of the two. Maybe it's just because we're more jazzed for wrestling, we're ready for it. And then by the time night 2 rolls around, it's just kind of like, we've had our fill. But hopefully this is just kind of like a little bit of a buildup for bigger things tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. I mean, night one, especially last year, was exceptional. And then for tonight to just kind of be what you'd expect it to be and not really anything more, it just kind of was, it was fine.
Sure. And I think there was a lot of things that we expected, maybe some things that we didn't expect, but for the most part, a lot of predictability for this WrestleMania so far. And I know we briefly touched on it yesterday that maybe that was a weakness of WWE is not only making WrestleMania the only thing, like we were the only big thing, but now it's also to the point where months out we're going, I think it's going to be this guy versus this guy. This guy will win, and everybody kind of knows.
Right, exactly. Well, especially like the Usos match, which they've should have done this match at any point since SummerSlam, but they postponed it to like this moment, and it was just like, why are you waiting for this?
Yeah, and I guess, and we'll talk a little bit more about that match. It kind of matched the theme of the show to me, which was that it just kind of lacked some fire, and it was just missing something. I don't know quite what, but most of the work was fine. Most of the matches were fine, but I never really felt like I was on the edge of my seat or like I was necessarily watching the biggest show of the year.
Right. I would very much agree with that.
All right, so the show kicked off. We had Becky versus Rhea, the man versus mommy. I liked the match. I thought that they did a decent job of the buildup lately of making it more of a story. Initially, it felt more like, well, these are two big stars, and that's why they're wrestling, but they added a little bit of heat to it. Maybe this will become a gimmick, but I'm kind of liking the idea of the Bret Hart blank out of 10 scale. And I'm going to go with 7 out of 10, but it wouldn't be a Bret Hart scale if I didn't bring up some negativity. I thought there was probably, a few too many false finishes here. And I was surprised that there was no post-match. I thought we'd see some sort of show of respect between the two, but obviously there's probably more story to be told.
Yeah, I mean, if I would rate the match pretty similarly, probably a 7. Maybe I'll give it a scooch more. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. But I mean, compared to what Rhea Ripley did last WrestleMania, it was definitely not on that level. So.
Sure, and a lot of times it's about tempering those expectations. Becky Lynch, for the big star that she is, we can all be honest, I don't think she's near the wrestler or the worker that Charlotte Flair is, who I consider to be the greatest female wrestler I've ever seen. And that was always going to be tough to match. But they did a good job as an opener. The crowd was into this. The crowd was very into Rhea Ripley. I'll give props to Becky Lynch. She took one nasty electric chair spot on the outside of the ring. I hope I don't see too much of that, but for WrestleMania, it's fine. And then the only other thing that I really wanted to bring up of note was that the lead singer of the band that sang Rhea Ripley down to the ring looked a little bit too much like Rhea Ripley for my comfort level.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that was like Rhea Ripley 2023 and Rhea Ripley 2024, and it was a picture of the two of them together, and I'm like, yep, that's pretty accurate.
Do you know the name of that band?
I have not a clue.
Interesting.
I'll see if I can
Okay,
find it.
sure. After that, we had the costume contests. Tag match. It was the 6-pack challenge ladder match. A little bit disappointing to me. Generally, you expect these to be the big spectacle of the show.
The band is called Motionless in White.
Motionless in White.
Yeah.
Please get a new look, Mr. Lead Singer, just for my own comfort. All right, I just realized I don't know if we are streaming on X right now and
Oh,
or Twitter,
no.
but we are streaming on YouTube,
Oh shit.
allegedly.
Okay.
And if
Okay.
I can figure out how to also get us over to Twitter, I will do that. Anyways, yes, the tag team match. I thought it was kind of funny. While it's WrestleMania and everybody does it big for the entrances, for their ring attire, seeing all these guys come out one by one reminded me of like a runway show or a costume contest. Uh, the match itself, it was played up for a lot of comedy, which is probably to be expected when you have R-Truth, The New Day, those kind of teams in it. DIY did an homage to DX. Overall, on my Bret Hart out of 10 scale, I went 5 out of 10. It was fine. It's just you come to expect a little bit more from these matches, the big multi-man matches at WrestleMania.
I think I enjoyed this more than you because I do have more of a proliferation for comedy wrestling, and the R-Truth stuff all hit really hard, and I'm a huge DIY fan, and to see their DX homage was pretty cool, and I think it made sense with everything going on with them. And I think we could have maybe got a little bit more out of it, but at the end of the day, I was pretty happy. So I'd probably rank it right up there with the women's match, and probably go like a 7 out of 10.
Okay, fair enough. I do think that R-Truth saved a lot of it. He had some really, really great spots. The tag spot, tagging into a ladder match, I thought was brilliant. And also scoring a pin in the middle of a ladder match. You got to love the ending of the match, at least R-Truth. He got his WrestleMania moment. I think he is great for what he is used for.
Right.
He finally got some gold, and I think it'll be a short title reign. The other side of this match, and we did our predictions. It made me 3 for 3 at this point. I saw Austin Theory and Grayson Waller winning the SmackDown Tag Team Championships and R-Truth and Miz. So we were 3 for 3 to start.
Yeah, it was weird that we got him right, but at the same time, it just kind of made sense with everything that was happening. So
yeah, and we also talked about it on the prediction show. I think it might be a mistake to split up the tag teams. I know you're a little bit more optimistic than I am. I just think that one tag team championship is enough for a company. We'll kind of see what happens, but I'm less than optimistic on building heat for that division.
yeah, I don't know if maybe the plan long term with Netflix and everything happening is like maybe they are going to go with them because they did the brand split, and that was supposed to be a hard brand split, and then obviously it kind of got to the point where every people were on the same shows again, and I don't know if maybe that's their point of like, all right, we are going to split these up more or not. I don't know. But.
Well, I don't mind the outcome with the Judgment Day dropping the titles. They kind of haven't really been doing anything with them, so it's not like we're sad to see them lose. But I do think time will tell if it was the right call, and it's WWE. If it's not the right call, they'll just unify them, just like they do every 3 months or so.
Right. That's the good thing is you can always go back to that point, and there's a storyline for the tag team division. Worst case scenario. So.
All right. After that, we got to the next match, which is Rey Mysterio and Andrade. We haven't figured out if he's still El Idolo or if he's just Andrade at this point. I think we're leaning towards Andrade.
I think they're just going to go with Andrade, just for simplicity's sake.
And they took on Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. I loved this match. I rated it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
kind of again when I graded it on a scale for what was expected out of it, and I actually thought this was a better spectacle than the previous tag team match that went just ahead of it. I liked that you had both factions getting involved, and why not? All those guys are there. At least do a spot or two. They did the slingshot spot, which was fun. By the end, you had Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm fine with that in that spot on the card. Get those guys involved. The crowd loved it. And I really, really I love Andrade's work in the ring as a baby face, but his character is much better as a heel, so it's kind of an anomaly.
Yeah, I do agree with that. He works better when he's kind of doing his moon, like the moonsault spot and all that stuff, and all that's good, and it works better for a face wrestler than a heel. And but yeah, I agree. There's not really a lot there as a character, as a good guy, because he just has never really been able to do that successfully. Uh, yeah.
Quick shout out to Austin, one of the members of the Winklerverse, who is graced us with the first comment on our podcast, which is do this
Yeah.
weekly. This is awesome. Is there a StreamYard? Yes, there is a StreamYard. I am going to tweet out that link right now. So in a moment, you guys will be able to join in on the show if you'd like to. So we'd love to hear from you. Next up, we had the brother versus brother match, Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso. This match was a disappointment to me. They didn't really do a lot to build up the heat going into the match. I was a little bit surprised yesterday that they gave away
I will say
Solo.
this. I will say this. The video package before this match was great, but yeah, you can keep going.
Sure. No, I agree. WWE is second to none when it comes to the video packages, which is there's a lot of fans that just watch pay-per-views as far as their fandom goes because WWE does do such a great job of, hey, you can just tune in for the pay-per-view, watch these video packages to get the story leading into it.
Yeah, I've been there, and literally, like when I went to SummerSlam and Fastlane this past year, I didn't watch any of the Raws and SmackDowns leading up to it. I would just watch the video packages in the arena and be like, "All right, I get it." Like, I mean, I obviously was aware of major things that were going on in the shows, but at the same time, it was just like I can probably get by in the little parts that I'm missing.
Sure. And just I don't know, for me, for a brother versus brother match, you never felt like they really got it into another gear. You never felt like there was this hatred or that there was this super personal beef going on. It just felt like a match to me. They did try towards the end of the match build ups like some sympathy spots where Jimmy stops Jay and he's begging him only to turn on him. But I don't know. It was super kick crazy, which you know my thoughts on that. You got to protect those moves. And the crowd kind of piped down for this one. So I went 4 out of 10 on this one.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go lower than that. Honestly, I'd probably give it like a 3. There was just it. This did absolutely nothing for me. I felt like this was this felt like when Cody, or excuse me, Stardust and Goldust kind of had their match at Elimination Chamber, and it just like didn't work, and it was just like, yeah, this. I'm glad this isn't at WrestleMania. This is kind of the same vibes I got out of this one. So
Thankfully, we eventually got Cody versus Dustin in AEW, which to me is probably the greatest AEW match of all time to this point, in my opinion.
it's definitely, yeah, I don't have a list off the top of my head, but yeah, that was a good one, and that was on the first pay-per-view, and that set the tone for what the company started doing. So
Shout out to Andrew in Arizona who says Jason Kelsey sealed up his Hall of Fame nomination 3 years from now. That's a good bet. But just remember, with WWE Hall of Fame, eventually everybody gets in.
This is very true.
All right, we are going to, for the first time ever, bring a guest onto the stage with us. Let's go ahead and bring in Austin, a esteemed member of the Winklerverse. Austin, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I hope you guys are doing the same. This is awesome. I've never seen this podcast before. You guys sound great.
Appreciate it, Austin. Yeah, we actually, yesterday was our first episode. We were very, very surprised. We just wanted to do a test episode, really, and put it out live to see what would happen. We got a retweet from our friend Bart Winkler, which I think did a lot of work in getting some viewers. And yeah, we had a good amount. And so far, so good.
Hell yeah. So as a person that has been out of the WWE for a while, I watched WrestleMania last year, and I've been starting to watch Monday night and Thursday night, and I've watched some AEW trying to get back into it. The product is looking a lot better to me than it has that made me quit it. And what I really like is the women's storyline, like that Rhea Ripley, is that how you say it?
Oh, yes. Mommy,
Okay.
I should say.
Her and Becky Lynch, that was an awesome way to kick that off. I thought it was a great start to WrestleMania.
Absolutely. I think that was the right call for the female side of things. I don't think you could have, as far as star versus star goes, put together a bigger match this year than Rhea versus Becky. Brent, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for the women's division wise, yeah, with Charlotte being hurt and everything going on there really wasn't. I think that was probably the way to go with Rhea Ripley for this show. I think they're going to be building up to Rhea Ripley versus Bianca at some point, but it didn't make sense this year to just make that happen.
Sure. And speaking of women, the next match that we saw on the card was the six women. What? I don't know. I don't want to get canceled. What do I say? 6-person, I guess.
Sure.
Six individual, 6-entity tag match. We had Damage Control going up against the debuting Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. The first thing that stuck out about this match was the entrance of Jade, Naomi, and Bianca. It was a big time entrance, and Naomi was wearing a big time hat. It was a Turd Ferguson homage, I guess.
Yes, that was a big hat, and it just looked like more awkward than anything. It seemed like it was a good idea at the time, and then it was just like, oh shit, now I have to dance with this on my head, and this isn't gonna work.
But other than that, I did love the entrance. It's especially for someone like Jade, it made her feel bigger. Well, I mean, she feels big, but it made her feel even bigger. So I was happy for her. I give the match a 7 out of 10. It did exactly what it was supposed to. It was a good match. Everybody in the ring, obviously Jade is the probably least experienced, but everybody else was good workers, good wrestlers. And the idea of this match was essentially to showcase Jade Cargill for the star that she is. She came in at the end, kicked wholesale ass, cleaned house, and they went home. It was a good match, good solid match. 7 out of 10 for me. What do you think, Austin?
I don't want to spoil the podcast by not knowing all the wrestlers' names.
That's okay.
So,
fair enough. We'll go through this journey with you, pal.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch the rest of this. So I wanted to comment just on the first match and the last match. But if you guys are breaking it down match by match, then I'm gonna wait until the end and hear you guys talk about the Cody Rhodes tag team match and see what you have to say about tomorrow. But I do have a question. So tomorrow, is there gonna be another Cody Rhodes match?
Yes. So tomorrow's main event is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. For the second year in a row, they will headline night 2 of WrestleMania. The idea of tonight was if Cody and Seth Rollins won the tag match, there would be no bloodline involvement. It would be a clean match tomorrow. And if Rock and Roman win, it's bloodline rules, which essentially means there are no rules.
That was what happened tonight, though.
Essentially, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
We were joking that we love the Rock's gimmick that you just fire anybody that if the ref counts, if the ref does his job, he's fired. So you can't lose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna listen. I don't want to talk about the last match while you guys are gonna break them all down. So I'm gonna listen to you guys.
We appreciate you, Austin, man. Thanks for stopping by and appreciate the love.
Love you guys. Bye.
All right, big shout out to Austin.
Yeah,
Our
that's
first
great.
guest. I was a little bit worried on the technical side of things, but I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I think we're doing okay.
All right, so back to the card. Brent, your thoughts on the Damage Control Jade Bianca Naomi match?
I think not to. I'll bring up one point here. I totally get why Sasha Banks and Naomi felt like they were bearing the women's tag team titles at a point because Asuka and Kairi Sane are the tag team champions, and they just basically got demolished on the pay-per-view. Like I couldn't even get Nora in bed during the time of this match, so it was a little short, but it got the point across of Jade Cargill is just a monster, and she's going to rule the women's division for at least the foreseeable future. So.
Yeah, I could see that. To your point, I totally forgot that Damage Control had the women's tag team championship, so that is a very, very valid point. But for the match itself, or I think for what it was designed to do, I enjoyed it. Does continue Asuka's amazing WrestleMania streak. I believe
This
she's
is
now
true.
0 for 6 or 0 for 7 at WrestleManias now.
I'm not 100. I think it's 0 for 6, but I'm not 100% sure.
Gotcha. She's the anti-taker.
Yep.
All right. Well, the next matchup on the card, this was the hardest one, I think we said, for both of us to call because you could see it going either way. You had the underdog from the underground, Sami Zayn, taking on Der Ring General Gunther. This is tough for me because I am a Sami Zayn mark. I mean, me and Brent are both wearing Sami Zayn shirts today. So we got our heart on our sleeve, so to speak. I was happy for Sami Zayn to pull out the victory to get the Intercontinental Championship, but maybe, I don't know, Brent, what did you think? To me, it felt this doesn't feel as big as it should.
I mean, no, it doesn't because Sammy's held the Intercontinental belt. I think this was his 4th title reign with it, and it kind of feels like the moment's not really there because it's something that he's done before that you've achieved. Like the WrestleMania is supposed to be about achieving your dream, and I highly doubt when Sami Zayn makes his bucket list of goals, like I really want to win the Intercontinental Championship again. So I think that wasn't, whatever. Like the moment that it could have been, which we both know is him winning the championship. But at the same time, the match one, it was good, and yeah,
it was good.
It was good.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10, which is heartbreaking for me because for current wrestlers, it's, CM Punk's obviously my number 1, but my number 2 is Sami Zayn. But I think when you compare it to a lot of the matches that Gunther has had in this IC title run, man, he's had some great matches, even with people that you wouldn't expect. He gave Chad Gable new life. He made The Miz look credible.
Right.
I even felt like The Miz's matches were better than this particular match. And I think some of it comes down to, like, it was a late build. But another interesting piece of this to me was involving Sammy's wife and his children. It almost feels like this was supposed to be Chad Gable's spot that they could have picked up from earlier in the year, and they just kind of took the same ideas and was like, well, we'll put Sammy's wife in there, we'll have Sammy's kids. So almost like there's some that feel that Sammy took Chad Gable's spot, and now it really feels that way.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that assessment. This felt like it should have been Chad Gable in that spot, and they just put Sammy there because Triple H loves Sami Zayn and wanted to give him a spotlight, and it just really didn't feel like it was necessary.
Yeah, I think if there's one positive thing that could come from this, Chad Gable mentioned backstage as Sammy was going to the ring that, hey, you owe me one after this. So I think if we get a heel Chad Gable run and they build him up properly for the beast that he is, that's a net positive for everyone involved.
Yeah, I think that match is going to be fantastic when it happens. It's just now let's see the build for that.
Yeah, and on the other side of the coin, props to Gunther. What a historic reign.
Absolutely.
I know some people are just kind of anti-long reigns for the sake of being anti-long reigns, but I do feel, even in comparison to someone like, say, Roman, I think Gunther kind of earned this run just from the pure quality of it and the fact that he is legit. If you're casting a movie and you needed a villain, that is him.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought this title reign was. I am one of those people that's very anti long title reigns, but at the same time, every time he put the title on the line, the match felt important and it was good, and that's different than a guy like Roman Reigns who doesn't show up for 3 months and then defends it, and then the ending is just complete hokey bullshit, and he holds onto the belt, and it's just the same thing, rinse and repeat for what, 4 years now.
The Groundhog Day wrestling storyline is
Right.
Roman and how he retains. But the other thing with Gunther is that while it was a great run, he doesn't need the IC championship. He's going to be a world title or a world championship holder. It's just a matter of time. So assuming that we're going to see some new world champions, we're going to need new contenders. So it's time. It's time for him to move on. But what I am interested to see now is the prestige that they have built up with the IC championship. How do they continue that?
That's a great question. And I mean, I think the good thing is they've kind of shined a spotlight on this being the working man's title. Like Gunther really just he took that idea and ran with it completely. And having it on a guy like Sami Zayn is a great next move. And then putting it under Chad Gable probably here in the next few months, like that's a great move for that title. And hopefully it just continues from there and it just makes sense, and you don't stick it on like a Logan Paul type who just is gonna wear it as a trophy.
Side note, before we move on to the main event of night one of the great things about that IC match was Sami Zayn's entrance was tremendous. He had the little coach him up moment with Chad Gable. He got to give his wife a hug and a kiss and spend some time with his kid. And then right at the end, as he's about to hit the curtain, we saw KO. So I really, really enjoyed that kind of full circle moment, so to speak.
Yeah, anytime I can see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn together, I'm all for that. I'm also for Kevin Owens powerbombing than Sami Zayn. So either way, whatever, as long as they're together,
fighting or hugging, it's
yes.
It's always a win. If you guys don't know, Brent is a Kevin Owens mark,
Yes,
and I think he
time.
proudly wears that title.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, to Brent, he is Brent CM Punk if it was me. So
yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's a good, pretty
maybe
fair
not to that
comparison.
extreme.
Yeah, maybe not, but it's close.
Best in the world. Anyways, let's get on to the main event of the evening.
I did just order a Kevin Owens cell phone case, so I am close.
I feel like you're challenging me now. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. You had Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, Seth. I'm just going to call him Seth. And he went up against, I know me and Brent are not the biggest fans of Seth, but they went up against the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and the final boss, The Rock. I was a little worried about this match early on. It felt wrong to me to see Cody and Roman in the ring because we're going to see them tomorrow night. I just felt like, they're taking away the heat here. And the match started a little bit slow. Initially, they went out into the crowd, did some brawling, and I just kind of thought, this is okay. But after all this buildup, is this what we're getting? But I'll give credit where credit is due. They built it up. It was a slow build. Towards, I don't know, probably the last third of the match, I was into it. I was digging it. The crowd was certainly digging it. The emotion was there. And overall, I'd probably give it a 8 out of 10. Brent, what do you think?
Okay, I'm probably gonna go more like 7, just because it felt like there was about 15 minutes there in the first half that probably could have just gone. It didn't serve any purpose. It didn't really do anything. It was just kind of. It was boring, and it made me be looking at my phone, and that's not really what you want in a WrestleMania main event. And it was already like over an hour long total, so it could have been trimmed down at some points. And I think just getting rid of some of that beginning stuff and just kind of going to the more schmozzy finish stuff was a better direction for that match. Because once it heated up, it was great. But
Sure.
but just as soon as like the street fight started, and then they kind of went back to the ring, and they just basically did nothing, and it was just like, why is this main event? Like, where are they going to go with this?
Well, and one of the questions that I think a lot of people were wondering was, how's The Rock going to look? I thought he looked, I wanted to say fine, but I'll give him more credit than that, because let's remember, this is a man that's in his 50s now that hasn't worked a match in how long. So I thought by that standard, he looked really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can tell that he trained and worked hard. And I know that there's the story that came out this week that he had a ring and he was working with the Gallus guys in NXT and just kept worked any time he could on this match or on different things. And they showed he did put in effort, which was good, because it feels like sometimes he came back and wasn't as dedicated. So
Austin, kind of echoing some of our sentiments, the slaughter on Seth made me check my phone several times, but it did get good. Yeah, the heat that they got on Seth did seem to drag for a little bit. It's not so much that it dragged for me, but when you build up that much heat on a guy, you get the hot tag, you kind of expect like, okay, they're going to go home now. They're going to end the match. And it probably went on for another 15 minutes after that, 10, 15 minutes.
Probably, at least 15.
So a quick recap, some of the more notable things that we saw: The Rock telling the referee, if you count while we're outside the ring, you're fucking fired. Or he definitely dropped an F-bomb. So
yeah,
that is an interesting gimmick of do what I say or I'll fire you. It's a pretty foolproof way to win every match. We saw a lot of springboard spots from Cody. He's fallen in love with the Brett's rope spots. So some looking better than the others. One thing that did surprise me a little bit is with all the hype that was put up with, Mama Rhodes is going to be crying and I'm going to make you suffer in front of her. I thought we were going to get some sort of spot where Cody was busted open and Rock brings Cody over to Mama Rhodes and, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And we saw a couple interactions, not that I necessarily need a main event filled with 20 minutes of Mama Rhodes, but to build it up and then not really deliver on that, I thought was interesting. We saw The Rock do a table spot, getting his own finisher, the rock bottom through a table. And then we saw a very WrestleMania-y finish, I guess, where a lot of finishers being thrown about, a lot of reversals. In the end, though, it was The Rock securing the victory for the Bloodline with the People's Elbow on Cody Rhodes. As I predicted, as I think Brent predicted as well, that Rock getting the pin over Cody is a part of this story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's. It seems to be the next point that they're probably going to go. Barring Cody not losing tomorrow, but I think if Cody wins, I think it seems like a Rock Cody match is inevitable, because that's what they've been setting up. That's why they had the interaction that they did at the end of Raw the other week, and it feels like that match is going to be happening, because as we talked about yesterday, like the feud so far really has been The Rock versus Cody, not really Roman versus Cody. So
yeah, and there were some subtle things that I think could lead to new stories, new things happening in that storyline, even as soon as tomorrow. That's one of the interesting things about having 2 nights of Mania, is it's not a everything all at once proposition anymore. You could at some point see night 1 sets up for night 2. We saw some of that. Seth Rollins really, really selling his knee being hurt. I think that'll make a huge part of the story tomorrow in his match with Drew McIntyre.
Or he'll come out and just be completely fine, which is just as likely.
Possibility. Also, we saw a spot where there was a mix-up. Roman accidentally spears The Rock. Could be something, could be nothing. Probably something that they're leaving options on the table. But overall, the match delivered for me, even though it was somewhat predictable in the finish for a lot of people. The execution was still good enough for me, and I'm definitely hyped for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're gonna finish the story, and we'll see where tomorrow goes. I think tomorrow's got some really good matches, some really good potential. I also think there's going to be a few matches where it's just like I don't know, but I'm looking forward to I mean, all the championship matches should be great, and yeah, including the Logan Paul triple threat match. So it'll be a good night.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in AEW, all of their storylines can be summed up with, I thought we were friends. And in WWE, every storyline is, I have a story and I'm going to finish it, damn it.
Right.
But yeah, tomorrow night, WrestleMania night 2. Not sure if we're going to go live. I'd like to, but we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for listening. And yeah, keep an eye on your feeds. Hopefully you can join us again. Brent, thank you. And
Yeah,
I
thanks.
think without further ado, we sign off for the night. Love you guys.